Hey, what's up everyone? Enchantments are a big part of Hypixel Skyblock. Unfortunately, there's a lot of them and it's not a very friendly system to beginners. In this video, I'm going to review all of them. I split the enchants into amazing, good, meh, and bad. I also split them into groups for swords, bows, armor, tools, and fishing rods. Let's get started. You can get XP from killing pretty much any animal or mob. There you go, I just got a little bit from killing that cow. You can also get it from mining ores. One of the most reliable ways to earn XP is through Enchanting Models. There's 3 different types, all are unlocked in the Lapis collection. First, you have your standard experience bottle, crafted with 6 Lapis. Then you have your Grand Experience bottle, crafted with 6 Enchanted Lapis. And finally, you have your Titanic Experience bottle, crafted with 6 Enchanted Lapis blocks. The standard experience bottle will generally give you about 1 level up to level 10, and then it really just doesn't do anything. I would only use this bottle if I was going to be combining low level books. You're going to be using the Grand Experience bottle the most. It's pretty cheap, and if you go from level 0, you get 40 levels when you open it. You're going to use this when combining mid-level books or any regular enchant. Finally, you have the Titanic Experience bottle. This one is extremely expensive. It costs 6 enchanted blocks of lapis, which is about 500,000 coins. If you open it when you're level 0, you should get to level 210. You only want to use this experience bottle if you need a ridiculous amount of experience orbs. Another thing I see people struggling with is how to make a max level enchant table. In vanilla Minecraft, you need to make this same design, only 1 block high, but in Hypixel Skyblock you can enchant up to level 64, so you need it to be 2 blocks high. So before we go into all the enchantments, there were 2 enchants that I didn't really know what to do with because they're kind of weird. The first one is Experience 3. It basically gives you more XP orbs whenever you kill a monster or break an ore. And the reason I didn't categorize this is because it can apply to swords and tools. And the other weird one was Telekinesis. This can be applied to everything except for armor. Basically, when you break a block or kill a monster, the drops go directly into your inventory. If your inventory is full, the item will just drop on the ground. Something that's helpful that not everyone knows is that in the gold mine, there's a janitor called Rusty right here. And if you click on him, he will enchant something with telekinesis for 100 coins. Every enchantment other than telekinesis has a crafting recipe. The only issue with the crafting recipes is it gives you 1 level below the max level. So if I was to craft a power 4 book, I would need to craft 2 of them and then combine them in an anvil to get power 5. A lot of these books have 1 tier higher enchants. So Sharpness 5 is not actually the max level Sharpness enchant. There is actually a Sharpness 6. Same thing with Power and a lot of others. But I already feel like this video is going to be really long, so I don't think I'm going to cover that in this video. I probably will in the future though. So the way this ranking system is going to work, bad is the worst and amazing is the best. So we're going to start off with swords. 3 bad enchantments for swords. Fire Aspect ignites your enemies for 4 seconds, dealing 20 damage per second. This is not a good enchant because every time the monster will take damage from that fire aspect, you won't actually be able to hit the monster during that time. Venomous has a very similar effect. It'll deal damage to the monster while it also slows down the walk speed. Again, if the Venomous is hitting the monster, you will not be able to hit it. And finally, the worst enchantment ever, Knockback. So you know how you want to actually hit the monster, right? Well, when you hit the monster with knockback on your sword, it sends the monster flying the other direction. This is the worst enchantment known to man. If you have this on your sword, then you should throw that sword into the void. Some of the best swords in the game sell for half the value because they have knockback on it. Don't put this on your sword. Cleave is interesting. It's similar to Sweeping Edge in the modern versions of Minecraft, where it deals damage to monsters that are within the range of another monster that you hit. So the issue with Cleave is if you hit a monster with Cleave accidentally, then that counts as your first strike. We'll get to that later. Impaling 3, this enchant is fine. The only issue with it is I can't remember the last time that I fought a guardian or a squid and wasn't able to immediately kill them. I still recommend putting this on your sword, just in case. Thunderlord really doesn't do very much damage, and it only applies after you've hit the same monster 3 times. And you're going to be one-shotting most monsters anyway, so you'll never really see the effects of this enchant. Smite increases the damage to undead monsters like zombies, pigmen, and skeletons. This enchant isn't actually bad, but the only issue with it is that you can't put Sharpness on your sword. And Bane of Arthropods is pretty much the same thing as Smite, except this one deals more damage to spiders. And the reason this one isn't ranked any higher is because you also can't use Sharpness with it. So here's going to be your good sword enchants. Lethality 5 basically means that every time you hit the monster, it reduces the amount of armor it has, so your next hit deals more damage. Luck is pretty self-explanatory. If the monster is wearing armor, it'll increase the drop chance by 25%. Vampirism isn't that bad either. Whenever you kill a monster, you heal 5% of your health. Execute is also really good because for every percent of health missing on your target, you deal 1% more damage. So if your monster has 50% of its health, you'll deal 50% more damage to it. Looting basically makes monsters drop more items, pretty self-explanatory. And cubism deals more damage to slimes, creepers, and magma cubes. The only issue with it is that you're not really going to be fighting many of those monsters. I strongly recommend putting all of these on your sword. And here's the best enchants for your sword. Critical 5 increases your crit damage by 50%. But I don't know why you wouldn't put that on your sword. Lifesteal heals you as you deal damage to the monster. Giant Killer increases your damage by up to 25% against monsters that have a lot of health. With First Strike, you deal 100% more damage for the first hit on a monster. So if you're using Cleave and you accidentally hit a monster with the Cleave effect, you're not going to be able to deal 100% more damage to that monster on your first hit. Ender Slayer is incredible because every level you get 12% more damage to Endermen and Ender Dragons. And it's pretty much required for killing Zealots in one hit. Scavenger 3 is really good for farming because it gives you coins every time you kill a monster. Every level that your monster has, you'll get 0.9 coins. And finally, Sharpness. I'm sure you can guess why this is on there. Put all of these on your sword. That concludes sword enchantments. Okay, so we are officially done with the hardest one. So the bad enchants for bows include Punch. It's basically the equivalent of knockback for a sword. And Flame. It's also just like Fire Aspect. You're not going to be able to hit your enemy. And there's only one enchant that really doesn't make that much of a difference, and it's Piercing. So Piercing is kind of useless because it makes your arrows go through the target that you currently hit, except it only deals 25% damage to the targets behind them. Infinite Quiver is kind of useful. You have a 50% chance to save your arrow if you fire it. Arrows aren't really that expensive, but it's kind of helpful because you don't have to buy them as often. Finally, here's our really good ones. Aiming literally gives you a homing bow. You shoot within the area that the target is in, and the arrows literally curve and hit the target. It's almost impossible to hit an Ender Dragon without this enchantment, so it's pretty much required for dragon fights. Snipe is also really useful because the farther that you are from your target, the more damage your arrows will deal. And finally, Power. It's basically Sharpness for bows. Put this on your bow. There's no reason not to. I just noticed that you can also put Cubism and Impaling on your bow. It shouldn't make that much of a difference because you really don't fight slimes or squids and guardians that much. And one enchantment that I forgot to mention was Dragon Hunter. This enchantment lets you deal more damage to the Ender Dragon. Each level of this enchantment costs double what the last one did. So tier 1 is 1 million coins, tier 2 is 2 million, and tier 3 is 4 million. You really only need this enchantment if you're going to be grinding a lot of dragons. And now we're going to move on to armor. Thorns has a very similar effect to Venomous and Fire Aspect, whereas if Thorns is hitting your monster, you won't be able to hit the monster for a very, very brief period of time, but it's still kind of annoying. Also, it only does 9% of the damage that the attacker deals to you. Fire Protection is pretty much obsolete if you use the Lava Talisman and Fire Talisman. And the worst part about it is if you have Fire Protection, you can't put Protection on your armor. Blast Protection gives you more defense against explosions. I can't remember the last time that I received any damage from explosives. Again, just like the Fire Protection, you can't put Protection on your armor. And then the last form of protection other than regular protection is going to be Projectile Protection. It gives you 15 defense, but only against projectiles, and you can't put regular protection on your armor if you have Projectile Protection on it. Frostwalker is really only useful for farming ice. There's really no other use for it. Respiration extends your underwater breathing time. I mean, this one's not bad, but I can't remember the last time that I drowned. And Aqua Affinity increases your underwater mining rate. Depth Strider. You put this on your boots and you move really fast in water. And here's the best armor enchants. Growth 5. You get 75 extra health. And this stacks. So if you put Growth 5 on all 4 pieces of your armor, you'll get 300 extra health. Protection is the same thing. 15 defense per armor piece. So you get 60 extra defense by just putting Protection 5 on all your armor pieces. And unlike the other protections, this one protects you against everything. And finally, Feather Falling. You just take less fall damage. So the second to last group that we're going to review is going to be tools. Rainbow 1. Basically, whenever you shear a sheep, you're going to get a random colored wool. Smelting Touch 1 is used to break like iron ore, and you'll get the iron ingot. In general, it's helpful for mining, but if you're trying to build and you have like cobblestone that you're building with, it'll give you stone back instead of cobblestone. And Silk Touch has like the opposite effect. Instead of giving you like a dirt back when you break grass, it'll give you a grass block. If you break an ore with it, you'll get the ore. This makes it kind of annoying when you're trying to mine like coal or diamonds because it'll give you the ore instead of the actual material. Fortune is a helpful enchant because it gives you a 30% increased chance to get double drops while mining. And if you're higher than mining level 25, it'll add a 30% chance to get triple drops. And then finally are two really good enchants for tools. Efficiency basically increases how quick you break blocks. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want this. And then Harvesting 5. This is basically like Fortune for Hose. And just like Fortune, if you have higher than farming level 25, this will apply to triple drops. The only bad thing I have to say about this enchant is it doesn't apply to axes. Quick disclaimer, I have every single recipe unlocked except for 2. And would you like to guess what category they're in? Fishing! The reason I don't have them unlocked is because they're in the ink sac collection and it's kind of annoying to upgrade that. So there's not really any bad enchantments for fishing rods. There's just a couple that don't really make a difference. So you have Spiked Hook. It's basically the same thing as Sharpness. It even has the same stats. The only difference is I don't know why you would try to kill a monster with your fishing rod. Blessing, you get a 25% chance to get double drops from fishing. The only time I can imagine that this would be useful is if you get a rare drop like a Titanic XP bottle or something. You'll have a 25% chance to catch 2. Frail is kind of in the same category as Spiked Hook. Your sea creatures start with 25% less health. This doesn't make a difference because the sea creatures have such little health. Even the Sea Emperor, which is the hardest boss to beat from fishing, only has 30,000 health, which most people can 2 or 3 hit. And the first enchant that I don't have the recipe unlocked for is Caster. This one doesn't make much of a difference because it just has a really low chance not to consume bait. Bait is so cheap anyway, it's not really going to save you any money. An enchantment that's not required but is still pretty good for fishing is going to be Magnet. Basically, you get some more enchanting XP every time you catch a fish. And then finally, the really good fishing enchants. Lure basically reduces the maximum time it takes to catch something by 25%. Luck of the Sea 5 helps you find treasure more. It increases your chance of fishing up treasure by 5%. And then the last enchant, and also the last one that I don't have, is again in the ink sac collection, and it's Angler. And basically you get an increased chance to fish up sea creatures. Well, that was kind of a pain, but now we finished all the enchants. Now there's one more important thing that I want to talk about. So let's say I have all of these super cool enchants. I definitely didn't pick these out because they're the cheapest ones. So I'm going to show you why you should not combine these one by one. So we're going to put Cubism on that book. And then we're going to put Protection 4 on that book. And then we're going to put Protection 4 on that book to make Protection 5. And then now we're going to put Fortune 2 on that book. And then we're going to put Fortune 2 on that book again. Look, it's already 52 levels, and we haven't even put 3 max enchants on it. So how much do you think it's going to cost to put Efficiency on it? Oh my, it costs 100 levels. I don't even have enough experience bottles to get that. So there is a better way. So basically, the reason that this happens the way it does is because of something called the anvil use system. So basically, the more anvil uses an item has, the more expensive it'll be to add something or put that on something. So in the case of our book that I just used, it already had 6 anvil uses when I went to put Efficiency 4 on it. This also applies to weapons. Never put enchants on your weapon one at a time. After 5 or 6 enchants, it'll cost 100 levels. I've seen some people need 800 levels to put one more enchant on their item. So the way that I recommend enchanting items is to combine the books 2 at a time. So we're going to start by combining the 2 Cubism books, and then the 2 Protection books, and then the 2 Fortune books, and then the 2 Efficiency books. So now all of these books only have 1 anvil use. Now I can combine the Cubism and the Protection book and get Cubism and Protection on the same book, and it still only costs 12 levels. And then same thing with the Fortune and Efficiency book. And remember how it was 100 levels to add not even Efficiency 5 to the book? Now we can combine both of these books that both have 2 anvil uses for only 27 levels. So look at that, we only used 2 or 3 experience bottles to make this book, and it has all the enchants that we want. And we used 5 or 6 to make this book, and it doesn't even have all the enchants we want. So what I recommend doing is getting all of your level 4 books and combining it all into one mega book. So then when you go to put that onto your weapon, it'll be really expensive, but your weapon will only have 1 anvil use. So then if you want to add another enchant to your weapon, it'll be really cheap in the future. And if you use that enchanting method, it should still only cost like 120 levels to add a maxed out book to your sword. Okay, last thing I want to say, I promise. I strongly recommend not buying these maxed out books from the auction house. You have no way of knowing how many anvil uses these books have. I made this mistake when I was making my Salty Yeti rod. I bought a maxed out enchant book with all of those enchants on it, and when I went to add it to my rod, it was 300 levels. So I ended up spending 1,000,000 coins on experience bottles. The only time it's okay to buy books from the auction house is if you're going to be buying level 6 books. These books only have 0 anvil uses because you know for a fact that they came from the Dark Auction. And you know this because there's no way to combine 2 Sharpness 5 books to make Sharpness 6. If you watched to this point in the video, you're really awesome. Thank you. If I missed anything in this video that you think everyone should know about, make sure to leave it in the comments. This video was also a lot of work to make. Man, I gotta stop putting so much work into these videos. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to show your support and leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye!